Welcome back and a very good morning to you. Just in case you've tuned in, this is the Daily Brief where we follow matters, current affairs, politics and news as it happens. And happening right now is that the National Lands Commission chairperson, Mohammed Sozuri, is defending himself in regards to the acquisition of the public land in Ruaraka. Also, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, the Department of Finance Committee has actually recommended Parliament to reject the nomination of one Mr. Ben Chum, who was nominated to the position of chairperson of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC. But even before we continue with that, still on the corridors of justice, let's cross over to Kisumu to find out how the case challenging the election of Member of Parliament for Bonchari, Mr. John Oro, is continuing. Baraka Karama has been following this particular case. Over to you, Baraka.
Well, Ian, it's a sigh of relief for Member of Parliament for Bonchari constituency in Kisii County, Honorable Joe Oro, after the appellate court dismissed a petition that was filed by the former Member of Parliament, Zebedeo Pore, who was vying on a Jubilee ticket. The appellate court, during the ruling read by Justice Kathurima on behalf of the three-bench judge, the court dismissed the case on grounds that it lacked merit. And of course, they will say that Honorable Zebedeo Pore is to pay a sum of 1.5 million shillings as a cost in charge incurred during that particular case. Among the reasons, he said that the IBC conducted free and credible elections during the August 8 polls. And so, of course, just allow me to take comments from a cross-section of people who attended this session, just to get from them what's their reaction in regards to today's ruling. Kindly tell us your name first and give us a brief. What is your take in regards to the ruling that has just ended at the appeal court? To the camera.
Well, my name is Mheshimiwa Albert Monyancha. I contested in Bonchari constituency, that's 2013. 2017, August, I was supporting Mheshimiwa Ogega, David Ogega from Bonchari, because he wanted some changes in Bonchari. As per the ruling for today, the church, according to facts given, well, I cannot blame him. But in the real sense and the factual, the truth of the matter, people Bonchari were not expecting the results for today. People in Chari, we are tired with the current MP, that's Mheshimiwa Oro Yoka. For the few months as he has been in Bonchari, some of the surrounding people have become rich within the shortest time possible. So according to me, the CDF for Bonchari, I request the current government to send some people to go and assess exactly what's happening in Bonchari. For the few days, what I can say, it was not Okogani Bonchari. The expectations for Bonchari. People in Bonchari cannot go to church. People Bonchari hawezi kwenda mashambani. People Bonchari have no freedom. People Bonchari cannot be able to do other things apart from thinking of elections in Bonchari. This is the second term where we had Honorable Oro Yoka and Mr. Zebedeo Opole. The same issue as this year. So people Bonchari, actually in the real sense, we wanted a change. Only wanted the Bonchari people to exercise their democratic rights, electing somebody of their own choice. But for today, what we say, it has happened. But still, we are going to watch for the CDF for Bonchari, Pesa Masinani for the common Mwananchi for Bonchari. We are not going to sit and wait for things to be the way it is now.
Okay, well, Ian, disappointed voices from a cross-section of people who attended this particular session. And of course, in celebration from the other end, the supporters of John Oro celebrating the ruling by the appellate court, which has just upheld the election of MP John Oro, the case as lacking merit. So of course, it's a celebration on the other end, and of course, it's disappointment from a cross-section of those people who expected that the case will go either way. So of course, that's it here from Kisumu High Court, and of course, we'll give you an up-to-date information in regards to that particular bit. Remember, tomorrow we also have the same ruling, the Ugenya MP, that is pitting the incumbent MP Chris Karan and the former MP for Ugenya David Ochieng. Of course, will also be following that story alongside that for Nyamira County Governor John Nyagarama. So of course, Ian will give you an up-to-date information in regards to that particular story. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Baraka Karama. Of course, taking different reactions, some celebrating that the court has upheld Bonchari Member of Parliament John Oro's election. Others definitely disappointed, as you've heard there. But in the meantime, let's continue listening in to the press briefing by the National Lands Commission Chairperson, Mohammed Sozuri.
Please get a copy of the statement. And I want to thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. No, we'll give you, Chairman has to go for another meeting. We will give you copies of this, please. Chairman will not answer any question.
A seemingly angered chairperson of the National Lands Commission does not even want to take questions from members of the media who he accuses of not taking and using the facts that he has presented before them to show that indeed due process was followed in the acquisition and selling of the Roraka land, in which about 1.5 billion shillings was paid out to one businessman by the name Francis Mburu. Now, shocking revelations to the committee that is probing this particular case in Parliament, when Ambassador Amina Mohammed, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, appeared and confirmed that the two schools, I think Drive-In Primary School as well as Roraka Primary School, did not actually have the documents as initially argued by those who appeared before her. Jim, let me hear from you.
The Roraka case is one that it's so messed up, because there are so many institutions involved across the board.
Yeah.
You have the judiciary, you have the State Law Office, you have the National Land Commission, you have the Ministry of Education itself. And what happens is that it is only the National Lands Commission that can issue the documents that were required for Drive-In to have. All right? And there are documents, that I've read a cross-section of media that actually show that the Minister for Education then, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, wrote to the National Land Commission and requested that they give these documents to the schools. So the Ministry of Education did do its part. The Minister of Education does not issue title deeds at all. The people who issue the title deeds is at the National Lands Commission. Mm-hmm. Now, even when this land was acquired from Mr. Mboro, the bone of contention here is not whether the documents they had were legal or not, because this land has been agreed, even that this was private land. The issue was on the value of the land. 3 billion Kenyan shillings was paid out for that piece of land.
Actually, they say half of it. That is, it's still a bone of contention.
That they paid half of it.
And the person who received this money does indeed confirm he received 1.5 billion shillings.
But it was valued at 3 billion,
yeah.
at 3.2 billion. Mm-hmm. That was the value of that land. So the question at hand here is, there was 30 years before that. He said he owned it 30 years ago. Then he came to claim it now. Why did he come to claim it now? Did he see an opportunity that he could have exploited? And how
he
exactly
says 1.5 billion shillings is not so much money. He can refund it, Charles.
Thank God if he does.
That one brings me to the statement of President Barack Obama in South Africa.
Yeah.
He was saying that he's so surprised by how much money he's got since he left office. But he says that the money he has, it's little is compared to what many people have in the world today. And he was saying there's just so much you can have, there's just so many trips you can have, but what's more important is to give out more. For me, this Roraka land saga is all about greed. It's all about self-aggrandizement. It's all about a government that is so confused of what it needs to do and so many competing interests. I think corruption is a cancer in our country. It's eating out everything. We thought the NLC will come and clean the mess with it to do with land, but what you're saying, they're even becoming even more messier. And when you talk about primary schools and public schools having no title deed to the land they sit on, that is disaster. Many people, what stops any man from fabricating documents when they realize this school does not have a title to this land? I was speaking to one of my friends in the Mashinani. He was saying that in this country, when you see any parcel of land lying idle, you just go and place a beacon. Then you expand. Then before you realize, you request for a title. And that is what's happening today. Land's an emotive issue. The NLC must come clean on this issue. We must have men of integrity who are willing to stand with the truth. You cannot come and value a public land that has been there for 30 years and say, we are paying you the current price. I think we should be paying you the price that was then when you took the land.
Let's finish on this, Charles. But, you know, this situation is just not unique to Roraka Primary School. Across the country, people, you know, seem to be in legal battles over the land ownership. How do we address this situation? And then, Jim, just very briefly.
I think, first of all, the NLC must take serious its responsibility of managing public land on behalf of county and national government. At this hour, they should have been able to map out the country and know what areas need urgent address, especially when it comes to issues of public interest like public schools, because public schools serve the poorest of the poor. People cannot afford prestigious education. Some of us went through public schools. And if public schools' land is at a threat, then the NLC should stand. That's the first thing. NLC must play its role.
Thank you, Charles. Jim, you have a final word on Roraka.
I think one of the things, just to answer your question, that we ought to do is to ensure that every single public school has its title deal. That is one of the things that the NLC, in conjunction with the Ministry of Education, should do. Every public school, every public hospital, every community land that we have the census happening in 2019. And the IEBC will be drawing out the boundaries and just telling us, you know, setting out boundaries of the different places. We need to use that information to ensure that every single school has its own title deed, because that's the only way we can save such kind of money.
Thank you, Jim, for that. I'm meant to understand that currently, like I'd mentioned to you at the start of this live broadcast, the Joint Committee of Trade and Agriculture probing the contraband sugar was set to meet the officials from the government's chemist. I'm meant to understand that the officials have not showed up, but let's just get a confirmation by listening into that. That particular committee is chaired by Kieni Member of Parliament Kanini Kega and his Mandera counterpart Aidan Haji. Let's listen in.
Ndio analeta rapiti ama ni watu wana
Well, we are following very closely whatever is happening between the joint committees of trade as well as agriculture. But, you know, earlier reports indicate that officials from the government's chemist have actually not showed up. And I can see empty seats there. Perhaps what the exact position of the committee will show you shortly. I was hoping that they would sit there. And the committee, like I had mentioned, Charles, before you came in, that they were very, you know, specific that the government's chemists should come forward and confirm if their results are similar to that of KEBS, that indeed there was moisture and high levels of, you know, harmful metal in some cases. If it is true they have not showed up, what is your reaction?
Somebody's growing cold feet somewhere, somebody's getting scared because of the facts. And we are living in a country whereby there's lack of leadership from every point. It's just a messed kind of a situation whereby organizations and institutions that have been tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that Kenyans are safe, what Kenyans are eating is safe, it's fit for human consumption, they are playing around with the lives of Kenyans. And I would expect the government chemists to be on the forefront of leading us to know that what Kenyans are consuming currently in our supermarkets and our shop is safe. And if it's not safe, what do? We need to have a quarantine, something, an action has to be taken so that Kenyans are not exposed to poisonous metals. They're already feeling the burden of a failed healthcare systems, and you can imagine what kind of damage will be done to them if they consume such kind of sugars. And that is so sad for the chemists not appearing. It is a sign that there's something fishy happening.
Yeah.
They are not serious about this thing. Somebody's pocketing somewhere. Yeah, that's what I'll take.
Okay. Will Kenyans ever know the truth? And that is perhaps of larger concern to members of the public because, the joke right now, and I'm sure you've come across this, instead of someone asking for sugar, just hand me over the mercury.
Will Kenyans ever know the truth? I don't think we will ever know the truth because that's, we do not have a very transparent system of government as at now. And everything is always a cover-up. Every single detail is always a cover-up, and especially when it involves different agencies. So one of the things that I've seen, the government chemist not showing up, he's just picking, momentum from Matiang'i, who broke the story, and he refused to appear before this very committee. And now the government chemist has also refused to appear before that very committee. So what report is that? When you asked me earlier if you can trust that report, we cannot trust it because the people who told us this story, Matiang'i, the government chemist, they've all refused to speak to that committee. So what report are they giving to the public? All right? So it's a bit sad for me, really.
And in fact, Charles, I'd simply ask Jim whether there is hope coming from this particular report, given that they were returned by their colleagues.
I think I just wanted to comment on our parliamentary process, on how they investigate the questions they go there to ask. Most of those questions are not backed with research. They are not backed with the current information. It's all about hearsay, and they're only coming there, and I'm very sure they're only coming there because once they sit in that committee, their allowances will go up. So at the end of the day, the person who suffers most is the Kenyan, the common mwananchi. The government chemists will come there with chemical terminologies. I'm not very sure if there will be any parliamentarian who will be able to understand what those terminologies are. And if their questions are backed with research, they'll come and say, hey, sir, A, B, C, D happens when this happens. Have you, backed with research, informative, and driving to the point that at the end of the day, we want the Kenyan man to
Some read goodwill enough, the fact that some members had trashed the initial report, and that was a sign of goodwill. Do you agree?
I agree. They will, sometimes our parliamentarians, they act to show they're doing something good, but I'm very sure, the way I know our Kenyan leaders, everything my pocket has to be lined up. I mean,
if you look at an initial sign of goodwill, the fact that members of parliament can actually look at what their colleagues have done and sort of trash it and say and actually demand more.
Now, it's a sign of goodwill, but it's also a sign of waste of taxpayers' money because during that time that they did trash, they were actually spending taxpayers' money. So I wish that they would go ahead and say that because you did trash, you're going to do this again, but you're going to do it pro bono. Because you can't keep wasting taxpayers' money and then deliver trash. But I think one of the things that Charles has pointed out is just the quality of these committees. When you looked at when the Senate in the U.S. was questioning Zuckerberg of Facebook, and you'd wonder, are these people IT experts? But they are not. They are simply well-versed on that area because it's an area of national interest. They have done their research. They have worked hard at it. Here, we have, some of us have approached these members of parliament and asked them, we have tools to measure performance of committees. None of them want their committees to be measured on their performance. None of them want to be capacitated on how exactly they should do their work. So you have committees that should be acting as quasi-judicial bodies, but they're not.
An interesting picture there. Kanini Kega consulting with his co-chair, one Mr. Aiden from Mandera. Maybe what do you preempt the discussions here? Sort of all eyes have been put upon them to actually really, tell Kenyans what the truth here is. Charles.
I think they're disappointed and they're feeling that they are being taken for a ride by these guys.
This is also coming in the midst of accusations of compromise and personal interest.
Yes, and there's always that because whenever these people get seized of a matter, everybody is looking into what is in it for me. And I think it brings down to the quality of leadership we elect in public office. I think when I look at this parliament and previous parliament, when we had people like Martha Karua, when we had people like people who would ask tough questions that will even shake the core of government. Our current
Some talk about, when you describe that, they refer to the 10th and the 9th Parliament.
Yes.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Yes, that the current lot of parliamentarians, number one, we allowed so much money into our campaign so that the person with a lot of money would become an elected leader. We were not looking at the quality of leadership. What have these people been able to accomplish in their previous lives?
Sorry to interrupt you. Kaninikega is speaking. Jim, I'll start with you once we're done listening to him.
And if the witness all, there is no quorum, the meeting is actually adjourned. But in this case, we have the quorum as a committee, but our witness have also not appeared. Where is the letter that was written to the relevant bodies? Yeah. Get the letter. We say that Parliament is a house of order, and we have the standing orders and the rules to guide us. Yeah, so Honorable Kamene, don't get. We say that let's have order and let's not get emotional about these issues. There is
been going round the circles.
Honorable Kamene, you are a member of Parliament and you know the standing orders and how you are supposed to conduct yourself, and you know these proceedings are live to Kenyans. So please, also members, take note that whatever that we say, you might think that you are just saying it for this audience that is here, but it's being read in the entire country. So let's try as much as possible contain ourselves within the standing orders. There is a letter dated 28th July 2018, and it is addressed to Mr. Ali Gakweli, the government chemist, who is based at Kenyatta National Hospital. And sorry, members. Sorry. I think it's the letter is dated 24th July 2018, and it is addressed to Mr. Ali Gakweli, government chemist, Kenyatta National Hospital. And it is about joint sitting of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock and Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on the alleged importation of contraband contaminated sugar. And it reads, the Joint Committee has been looking into the allegations of importation of contaminated sugar that may be unfit for human consumption. The committee has received interim reports on the testing of samples by both the Ministry of Health and Kenya Bureau of Standards. The committee sitting on Monday, 23rd July, deliberated on the safety of the sugar in the market and seized facilities around the country. It was noted that the committee test results were crucial to inform the committee on its findings and report. In its inquiry on the above subject matter, during the deliberations, members noted the following matters of concern: reports on the latest test results, the test results of non-compliant samples from Bugoma and Moi Airways, Nairobi, the sampling collection and analysis method, possible source of contamination, the effects of consumption of contaminated sugar to humans and the environment, action taken to mitigate and contain and dispose of the contaminated sugar. The committee therefore resolved to invite you for a meeting to shed light on the above matter and to provide reports on the ongoing tests to the committee on Wednesday, 25th July, at a meeting to be held on Committee Room 12, Main Parliament 12, signed by the clerk. And it is copied to Dr. Engineer Kibicho, CBS and Principal Secretary, State Department, Department of Interior, Ministry of Interior, and Coordination of National Government. I don't know whether we also sent to the PS, because the tradition and order in Parliament is that when you are, and it's also the issue of protocol, when you are inviting any government agency, you have to write to the parent ministry. Because as you have seen also in the past, even when we had agriculture, the Minister for Agriculture, even when we had the AFA and other agencies at agriculture, the minister was there. And in this case, we copied the PS Interior. So they have not been able to appear. I have taken the initiative myself to check what is actually happening. Because as you have heard, the letter was sent yesterday. And it's to confirm, I took the initiative to confirm whether they have received the letter. And yes, they received the letter. Today, they say that they got the email. You sent via email or something? Yeah, it was, they got the email in the morning. Yes. Yes, the email was sent yesterday. And the PS Interior, whom the letter is also addressed to, has said or has requested the committee that he has received the information in the morning, and he is seeking the indulgence of the committee that they appear tomorrow afternoon at 3. That is the information I have gotten when I walked out there, because as a chair, I have the responsibility to also try and get as much information as possible. So the government chemist, together with the parent ministry, which is now Interior, it is not Health, it is now Interior. They would want to come, the PS, the minister, and the government chemist. Yes, and also, we also insist that they also come.
While its initial challenge was the fact that there wasn't enough quorum, the committee now says that indeed the government's chemists did not show up. So they have just confirmed that. We're taking a short commercial break right now. And of course, we shall come back to react to these and other stories. Stay tuned.